I'm Jacob Courtwright, and this is The Locker Room.
Well, hello and welcome into The Locker Room. So excited to have you joining me today. Before we get started in this incredible episode, make sure you're following The Locker Room on Twitter, TLR with Jacob, on Facebook, The Locker Room host Jacob, on Instagram, The Locker Room Podcast 615, and on TikTok, The Locker Room 22. This episode of The Locker Room is brought to you by FNX Fitness. For all your fitness needs, go to fnxfit.com. That is fnxfit.com for all your supplements that you need to get bigger, better, and stronger. Use the promo code TLRHOST, that is TLRHOST, all capitals, for 15% off your order. Well, we are going to start off this episode a little bit different. I am going to start off with my top 10 quarterbacks thus far throughout the NFL season. And let's start off with number one overall, my favorite quarterback so far this year, the quarterback who has played the best, the MVP of the league if the games stopped today. There was no more end of play. Russell Wilson, he's got to be the guy right now. Russell Wilson has single-handedly led his team to an undefeated start off of his arm only. He's not even using his legs to get the job done. Russell Wilson is simply being the most accurate, the most efficient quarterback in all of football. This is the Russell Wilson we saw when they made their back-to-back Super Bowl appearances. This is the Russell Wilson everybody loves seeing, somebody who is just simply above his game right now. He is elevating an offense that is okay to an offense that now looks great. DK Metcalf has finally come out of his shell. You finally have Tyler Lockett consistently producing every single week. The running back is still a giant question as Carson seems to get hurt every other day, but Russell Wilson has got to be my number one guy right now. Number two, and this one's tough for me because I think he's had actually a down year, not only statistical-wise, but just accuracy-wise, and that is Patrick Mahomes. Now, I don't think that he by any means is terrible or doesn't deserve to be up here, but Patrick Mahomes is definitely, I think, him and Lamar are in that same boat of kind of going through the motions. But I've got to go Patrick Mahomes here. Not only has he led his team to only a one-loss season so far, but he is doing it off of his legs a lot of the times. He's making big plays. We saw it in this past week where they had him in a third and long. Not Russell Wilson, but Patrick Mahomes scrambles, gets a good and a big first down to end up sealing the game. Patrick Mahomes is the second best quarterback this year, but I think overall is the best quarterback in the NFL. I fully expect the Kansas City Chiefs to be fighting for another Super Bowl spot this year, and Patrick Mahomes is going to be, not only is he already a Hall of Famer, but he is going to be the name that we continually speak of for years to come. This kid is just uber talented. I've got to put him at 2. Number 3, and this is one that might be a little controversial to a lot of people. I know he has had 3 straight Sundays of under 60% in QBR and under 60% passing accuracy, but Lamar Jackson has got to stay here. He's led his team to not only a one-loss season so far, but he's getting the job done in ways that we have not seen him do it before. We're not seeing Lamar Jackson really scramble for his big 80-yard showouts. We're not seeing him bomb the ball for his big 80-yard bombs. We're just seeing Lamar Jackson just simply be a field general for the first couple weeks of the season. There's a lot that this Baltimore defense and offense has to figure out. Right now, it seems like Lamar's really going through the motions. He doesn't seem like he's trying to be explosive. He's not really accurate, or percentage-wise is not at top of the NFL right now. But I think that that's simply going to change the further the season goes along. There's a lot of new pieces on defense. There's a lot of new pieces on offense that are being incorporated. J.K. Dobbins. He's got a lot of wide receivers dropping wide open passes as well. Once they settle in, and I fully expect the Baltimore Ravens to settle in the next couple weeks, I expect Lamar Jackson to show up and be the MVP just like we have expected to see him thus far this year, so I'm not going to hit the panic button yet. Lamar's going to stay 3 for me, but he is trending on the downward spiral if he does not pick it up. Number 4, and this guy is also in MVP contention. The only reason I dropped him to 4, he was actually higher, was based off of his performance on Sunday, and that was Aaron Rodgers. He had a bad Sunday. I'm not going to keep it against him and say that he's a horrible quarterback or he doesn't deserve to be in the top 5, because we've seen this happen to good quarterbacks, great quarterbacks all the time. He simply got picked off early twice, and that initially, I think, froze him. It made Aaron Rodgers stop being aggressive, and when you don't have an aggressive Aaron Rodgers, you have an Aaron Rodgers that is subpar, and that is what we got on Sunday. But he is leading the Packers to not only probably win this division, but another run into the playoffs and hopefully a push for the Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers at 4. Number 5, and this is a big one for me, Ben Roethlisberger has made this list. And for a lot of people that aren't big Ben fans, this man, you can't deny what he's doing. They're undefeated. And it's all off of Ben Roethlisberger's play. He's being accurate. This is the most accurate Ben Roethlisberger we have ever seen, and that is pre-injury Ben Roethlisberger included. We are seeing a Ben Roethlisberger who is poised in the pocket. He's not forcing the ball. He's just taking what's open. If that means the run game's going, if that means he's going to throw 4 touchdowns to Chase Claypool, if that means Big Ben's got to throw a 30-yard bomb to get the first down, he's just doing what he has to do, and that is why the Steelers are a dangerous team. I'm happy to see a healthy Ben Roethlisberger. He is 5 for me. Next up, and this guy had a great day on Sunday, Mr. Tom Brady, and I couldn't put him any lower than this because Tom Brady seems to just not be aging. He continually shows that he is getting better and better the older he gets. He had a great day on Sunday, throwing the ball not only deep but accurate. He had hard throws that he had to make on Sunday, just simply getting the job done, and we're starting to see him build a repertoire with this new offense, with this new head coach, with these new group of wide receivers, and we're starting to see them get better and better. This is a scary sight for teams that are going to have to go against this team in the playoffs and further on down the road. This team is going to be dangerous if Tom Brady and that defense can continually play the way that they did on Sunday. Tom Brady 6 for sure. And this one is going to be a big surprise at number 7 for a lot of people. But Ryan Tannehill, the second most efficient quarterback in football right now, Ryan Tannehill is getting it done. The Titans are undefeated. He is not only throwing the ball with such precision, such accuracy, but he is running the ball off of his own 2 legs with such accuracy. He is commanding respect from that offense, making sure that they're not going out of the wheelhouse of what they are great at, and that is why the Titans are so successful right now. Ryan Tannehill, it was tough for me to not even put him higher, especially after another 4-touchdown Sunday, but Ryan Tannehill got to sit here right behind Tom Brady. Love the way he's playing. As Titans fans, I know we're all excited for what he is doing. Number 8, Josh Allen. Now, I know Josh Allen's had some down Sundays the last couple weeks. He had a tough one against the Titans. He had another tough one against the defending Super Bowl champs. But Josh Allen is right up here, averaging 4 touchdowns throughout the first 4 games of the season. He's had a couple relapses the last couple weeks, but I fully expect Josh Allen to get back on track this coming week. We're going to see a Josh Allen fired up. You could tell that Josh Allen was frustrated with the way he is playing. He is still a top 10 quarterback thus far this year. He's playing at a great level. He needs to just relax and get the job done on his own terms. They're taking the running game away from him. They're not allowing him to get out of the pocket. They're trying to make him force throws. Once they can just settle down in this offense and let the reins over to Josh Allen, I think we're going to see an explosive offense. We're going to see an explosive Josh Allen again. Josh Allen's got to stay at 8 for me. Number 9, another surprising one, Kyler Murray. He is not only leading this team to 3-3, which I know doesn't sound great, but if you're an Arizona Cardinals fan, I'm sure you're shocked at how good you're doing so far. You put the beat down on the Dallas Cowboys, and spoiler alert, this is probably going to be a Sunday ShowOut and a Monday Makeover for one of those 2 teams, but the Dallas Cowboys simply got outmanned by Kyler Murray in that running attack, as Kyler Murray only threw 9 passes but was effective on the ground, leading rusher. Kyler Murray is starting to make not only an explosive run towards a top quarterback in the NFL, but he is starting to be one of the most explosive runners of the football, right up there with Lamar Jackson. So Kyler Murray's got to stay here at 9. And number 10, a man who has already surprised the defending Super Bowl champs once, Derek Carr. He is playing efficient football. He was able to slay the defending Super Bowl champs by putting up over 300 yards that game. He seems to be playing with an edge. He seems to be playing with a type of aggression that we have not seen in the likes of Derek Carr in some time. Now, I don't know if that is because they brought in Marcus Mariota and he's defending his spot and defending his honor, or if that's just simply for the fact that Derek Carr is wanting to lead this team for the near future, as there has been talks of pushing Carr out of this team, finding a trade for him. I think Derek Carr wants to stay in Las Vegas, and I think he's proving to Gruden that he can get the job done. I mean, we literally saw him yelling at the coaches saying, "Let me open up the game against Kansas City," and what he did was get the job done and win that game for them by opening it up, bombing the ball deep to Henry Ruggs, who is a great, talented young wide receiver. So I like Derek Carr here at 10, and he might move up the further we go along in this season, but that is my top 10 quarterbacks thus far this year. Now let's go into our Sunday ShowOut or our Monday Makeover. Well, we had a Sunday ShowOut and Monday Makeover weekend for sure in the NFL. What a great week of football. We are continually having, not only in college, but in the NFL, great weeks of football, and yet another week came to fruition. The Tennessee Titans, I'm going Sunday ShowOut against the Houston Texans, and I'm leading off with them simply because I am still shocked that we got the job done. And it was simply off of the back of that offense and Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill. They simply came out and put their foot on the throat of the Houston Texans, and they did it with literally 7 seconds to spare. There's not enough great things I can say about the Tennessee Titans offense right now. Defense, there's a lot of things that has to be worked on, and special teams for sure. Gutowski got a field goal blocked. We missed another extra point. We continually are leaving points on the board on that side of the football as well. So we've got to figure out a lot of things, but it was a Sunday ShowOut because the Houston Texans not only came in desperate, but came in thinking that if they beat the Tennessee Titans, there was going to be some life for this Houston Texans team. There was going to be a way where they can maybe squeeze out this division by knocking off their rivals in the division. And that was simply put down to rest after Derrick Henry had the game-winning touchdown. Ryan Tannehill, of course, had the game-tying touchdown to A.J. Brown, who is a stud. So this has got to be a Sunday ShowOut for the Titans. I love what I'm seeing. This team has a lot of future or brightness in their future, and I'm excited to see where they go. This next Sunday ShowOut or Monday Makeover, their first win of the season. The Atlanta Falcons take down the Minnesota Vikings in major fashion with a 40-23 victory. And this was done off of the arm of Matt Ryan and the legs of Julio Jones. Matt Ryan, 371 yards and 4 touchdowns. Julio Jones had a day, finally back healthy. 8 receptions, 137 yards, and 2 touchdowns. This is a Sunday ShowOut for the Falcons simply off of the fact that they not only were winless, they not only had just fired their coach and GM, they not only were riddled with injuries, but this was a game where it seemed like this was a gut check for the Atlanta Falcons. Are you guys going to give up for the rest of the season, or are you going to push through? We saw that exact same thing with the team that they played, the Minnesota Vikings, the week prior, where the Vikings were in desperation mode and they got the job done off of the legs of Dalvin Cook. This Sunday, it was the desperation of the Atlanta Falcons. You can't go down 0-6. So they came out, they punched the Minnesota Vikings in the mouth early. We saw Ryan Tannehill look comfortable. We saw Julio Jones finally be healthy for an entire game. And when he is healthy, he has simply put one of the top 3 wide receivers in the entire NFL. Doesn't matter what quarterback's throwing him the ball. Julio Jones is simply a freak of nature. Sunday ShowOut for the Falcons, I've got to give it to you simply for the fact that not only was this your first win, but you got it done off of all this craziness that has been happening to you. So Sunday ShowOut. All right, well, we've got our first Monday Makeover. The Denver Broncos take down the New England Patriots. This is the first time that Bill Belichick has been under 500 in something crazy like 15 years. So Bill Belichick 2-3 to start the season. Cam Newton did not have a great day. You know, he is coming off of COVID. I will give him that. But simply 2 interceptions, only 157 yards. He did have 76 yards on the ground off of his legs and a touchdown, but the New England Patriots are just simply not as good of a team as they used to be with Tom Brady at the helm. Half of their defense is not there anymore. Half of their offense can't catch a football, and we see how great Tom Brady was, who made these wide receivers that were no names really look good. Julian Edelman, in my opinion, is over the hump. He can't get it done anymore. He leads the NFL in drops the last 2 years, so I continually see decline when it comes to Julian Edelman. Bill Belichick has to figure out what he's going to do with this offense. You can't continually run the ball 60 times a game and not let Cam Newton open the field up with his arm. He can still throw the ball. He's still talented in the quarterback position, so let him open up. Let him breathe. Stop trying to run these screens and short plays, because what happens is that they start crunching down, they start pushing up in coverage, and that's what leads to 2 straight turnovers for Cam Newton on drives, and that's what leads to a loss against a Denver Broncos team that is not only young, but is not good on the defensive side of the football. This Denver Broncos team, I'll give you kudos. They finally got Drew Lock back. Phillip Lindsay had a day over 100 yards rushing, but this Denver Broncos team in no way is a better team than the New England Patriots. Most people are saying that the New England Patriots should win their division. I was also one of those guys that think that they could do it, but they've got to have better quarterback play from Cam Newton. They've got to have better offensive play calling from Daniels. They've got to figure out what to do on the defensive side of the football as well. You're just allowing too many first downs. You're letting them hold the time of possession. So if you're going to be a running team, you can't be outplayed in time of possession, and that's what's happening. Monday makeover for the New England Patriots, but I fully expect them to turn this thing around. Well, we are going to have back-to-back Monday makeovers, and this is simply because this is too funny. 2 of the worst teams in the NFL go head-to-head. The WTF football team versus the New York football Giants. We should stop calling them the New York football Giants, by the way. But the New York football Giants get it done in close fashion, 20-19. This was off of the legs of Daniel Jones, who had 7 carries for 74 yards. He also did have 112 yards, a touchdown, did, of course, have an interception. Who shocked? Not me. But they went up against Kyle Allen, who also had a pretty decent day. 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, only 1 interception. Terry McLaurin had a decent day. Their backfield is just, I mean, there's not enough bad things that the Washington football team has going for them. So I'm not going to dog on them too hard, because this is just a little bit sad. I mean, the WTF football team has one of the best defensive lines in football, and they still can't put it together. They have one of the best defensive ends in all of football, and they still can't get it together. They have a decent quarterback game. They still can't get it together. The play calling is atrocious. The linebacker play is atrocious. The cornerbacks are a joke. The Washington football team is one of the biggest laughingstocks in football right now. The WTF football team is now the Jacksonville Jaguars of that division, and they lost to probably the second worst football team behind the Jets and the New York Giants. I've got to go Monday makeover here for the Washington football team. They've got to figure out what their identity is going to be. They have games where they're running the ball 40 to 50 times. Then they have games where they're throwing the ball 40 to 50 times. You've got to find some sort of balance in this offense. Are you going to be a give or take? Are you going to be a team that should be situational, which is what I think, which means that they should be throwing the ball when they have the best opportunities, and should be running the ball when they have the best opportunities, kind of playing with what the defense gives them? They've got to figure out what they're going to be, because right now they have no offensive identity. Their defense, having one of the best defensive lines in all of football, has to be better. This is simply unacceptable, especially for a Ron Rivera-led football team. You would expect that this defensive line would play with some sort of heart and energy and soul, considering that their head coach is not only going through cancer treatment, but that he is a defensive guy, and they simply just don't have the energy. It's sad watching this team play on Sundays, and they went up against one of the worst teams in football. But here's what I like about the Giants. I like Daniels, and that's not something I thought I was going to say, but Daniel Jones seems to be playing with a type of edge to him. Darius Slayton has been a bright spot on that offense as well. The Giants are simply in rebuild mode. I don't think that they're necessarily bad because they don't have anything going for them. They're just bad because they're still in the rebuild mode of their football team. So, WTFs, you've got to have a Monday Makeover here. They've got to figure out something because they are now last in their division. And when the New York Football Giants are ahead of you, you're in trouble. All right, let's go into this one. We are going to go the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Browns. Monday Makeover for the Browns. I did want to go Sunday ShowOut here for the Steelers, but I simply could not bring myself to that point, not only because it was such a blowout the Steelers' way, but because it was such a pitiful performance for Baker Mayfield and this Browns team. Baker Mayfield only 119 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 1 being a pick six, and he was benched halfway through the game. The Browns, simply, I've praised you for 2 weeks, but you are simply not that good of a football team. The more I watch you, the more and more I see Baker Mayfield play, I just don't see a good enough consistency from the Browns on the offensive side of the football, and mainly from the quarterback play in order to carry them into the direction that they need to go. Now, don't get me wrong. Big Ben and the Steelers are on fire. They are a great football team, so this was a hard matchup. But what I don't like about the Browns are pieces that aren't going anywhere anytime soon. Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry, Baker Mayfield. These are pieces that aren't going anywhere anytime soon, and we'll talk about an Odell Beckham trade that might happen in just a few moments. But these are pieces that aren't going anywhere for the near future, and these are the pieces that are letting you down. When you have this type of a wide receiver core, when you have this type of tight ends, of running backs, you should be dominating every given Sunday on the offensive side of the football. And the problem is that's where you're lacking, and your defense is picking up. So the Browns, a big Monday Makeover here. I think they are in trouble in the near future if they do not get this thing sorted out. We are going to go 2 more here for you. First and foremost, let's start off with the Green Bay Packers versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and a Monday Makeover for the Green Bay Packers. I did want to go Sunday ShowOut for that Tampa Bay defense. I didn't think Tom Brady, of course, had the incredible game that everybody talked about. Only 160 yards, 2 touchdown strikes, 1 incredible throw to Gronkowski. Gronkowski finally made his showing for the year, 5 receptions, 78 yards, and a touchdown. But besides that, on the offensive side of the football, it was mainly done on the defensive side of the football. Like, the defense played like they were the best defense in the entire NFL, not even close. 2 interceptions on Aaron Rodgers early. Aaron Rodgers, what a pitiful day. Only 160 yards and 2 interceptions. You had Jamal Williams, only 4 carries for 34 yards. Devontae Adams in his return game, only 61 yards. This is a Monday Makeover for the simple fact that the Green Bay Packers did not perform. If the Green Bay Packers show up, if the Green Bay Packers are on their A game and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are on their A game, this is one of the best games of the year. But for the simple fact that Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers, mainly on the offensive side of the football, just were not there, not only mentally, but physically, they were getting pushed on both sides of the football. Aaron Rodgers, when he was picked off 2 times early, then turned into conservative Aaron Rodgers, and that is the worst Aaron Rodgers you want. You want an Aaron Rodgers that is aggressive with the football, pushing it down the field, and Aaron Rodgers simply clammed up, didn't show up to the big stage, and that is why this is a big Monday Makeover for Green Bay. The final game of Sunday ShowOut or Monday Makeover goes to the Arizona Cardinals versus the Dallas Cowboys, and it is almost laughable to even talk about this game. Kyler Murray completes 9 passes, and yet they win 38-10. You tell me the last time you've ever heard of a quarterback completing 9 passes and then walking away with a massive victory over the division leader. That's right, you haven't, because it has never happened before. Andy Dalton, even though his numbers look decent with 266 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions, I mean, that looks like okay numbers. It looks like they would still be at least in the game. They were just completely outmanned, outplayed. Budda Baker's probably the best safety in football without a doubt. Kenyon Drake finally had a night with 164 yards and 2 touchdowns for his first 100-yard rushing game of the year. But this goes simply to the Dallas Cowboys. Monday Makeover for you. Ezekiel Elliott, 2 fumbles to start off their 2 first possessions. That was the dagger that stabbed him in the heart that ended this game before it even got started. You can't do that and then expect Andy Dalton, a 32-year-old veteran, to then throw his way all the way back in the game. You had not only a bunch of missed throws, you had Ezekiel Elliott drop a wide open first down on a big crucial drive that would have put the game at least close in the beginning, 14-7 probably if they complete that drive off. But they continually shot themselves in their foot, and let's just put it this way, their defense sucks. Their safeties and corners are an actual joke. The bright side on that defense is Diggs, and he is a rookie, and he still is getting burned play-by-play because he's having to cover way too much open space. They finally got Van Der Esch back at linebacker. He did absolutely nothing last night. They pay all these defensive linemen. They paid Lawrence all this money. They can't get to the quarterback if their lives depended on it. This Dallas defense is the worst we have ever seen, and I'm almost at the point where I'm saying that the Dallas Cowboys should be in rebuild mode. Get rid of Zeke. Get rid of Dak. Get rid of Amari Cooper. Get rid of all these big names that you just paid all this money to and start this thing up from the beginning because you have a good young wide receiver core. You have a good running back in Ezekiel Elliott, but clearly there is an issue from paper to field for this team. They can't put it together. They are a laughing stock in the NFL right now. I don't understand it. Monday Makeover for the Dallas Cowboys. Now let's move on to some other NFL news. Tua Tagovailoa has now been announced the starter for the next upcoming Dolphins football game. What do I think about that? I like it, and I also think that it's way too early. Ryan Fitzpatrick has this team second in the AFC East, so I would just let him continue to play. Let the young quarterback sit under him a little bit more. Give that young quarterback a little bit more rest. But I see what the Dolphins are going with this. They're just like, if we're going to be in a winning position, we might as well start getting our quarterback out on the field. So I don't completely hate the fact that he's going to be out there. I wish they would leave him off for a couple more weeks, or maybe even just sit him out this entire rookie season and let Fitzmagic teach him. Let him grow under a seasoned veteran and then come back completely healthy next season. But I am excited to see what Tua Tagovailoa does. When he came into the game, he was electric. He had some great throws down the stretch. So I'm excited to see what happens with him. So best of luck to Tua. Now let's move on to the NFL and the whole COVID situation. This is something that's actually been asked a lot to me. What can the NFL do in light of COVID to stop these games from being canceled, being moved, being jumped around? The big problem is it's not necessarily the 22 guys on offense and defense that start. It's the practice guys, it's the guys they're interacting with in the practice situations that are doing a lot of the damage. We've seen that a lot of these stories have come from practice players getting COVID, and then they come to practice and they're, transferring it to the rest of the team. There's not a whole lot of problems when it comes to the actual starting core because they have, a lot of those starting guys and guys that are actually serious about what they're doing. They're going to take care of their bodies. They're going to make sure they're quarantining and not getting themselves into a spot that they shouldn't be in. So when it comes to COVID, the NFL's got to do a better job, and so do these individual teams, of locking down these practices, locking down these practice players. Now, a lot of these practice players can't go the whole week without, either working another job or having to have more income somewhere else. And that is another big problem is when you have guys that are doing more than one job besides, a practice player on a football team, what can they do to help further their money needs or, the needs that they have? They're going to go outside of the football realm. And when that happens, you're getting these guys transmitting COVID, now bringing it back to your team, and you're in practices and all that. And we know in practices they're not wearing masks, they're not social distancing. We've seen this on the sidelines. Everybody's like, why aren't these guys social distancing? Because that is not what football is. They're going to continue to stay crunched up. They're going to continue to talk to each other with no mask and hug and high five and do whatever they're going to do. So they've got to do a better job, first off, on the practice level. Second off, the organizations are going to have to do a better job on Fridays before Sundays. On Friday, I would have a mandatory team lock-in. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, or if you play Thursday, it's a lockdown from Wednesday. So the day before or 2 days before every game, you should be on full lockdown mode. You don't go anywhere. You don't do anything. So that way there's no way you could contract anything after that. So I would have a lockdown protocol number 2. Number 3, I like what the NFL is doing in the terms that they are moving these games around to where it's not really messing up too many Sundays. I've quite enjoyed the doubleheaders on Mondays, but I'm getting a little bit tired of it as well, honestly. Because we're having to have these Monday doubleheaders at 5 o'clock. A lot of people aren't home from work, so the early games aren't getting a whole lot of love and attention. So for ratings-wise, they've got to figure that mess out too. If they're going to continue to stack up games on Mondays, if they're going to continue to stack up games on Sunday nights, which I think is the more valuable option. But the problem is now you're taking away from Sunday Night Football on the main platform. So it's a tricky situation. But number 3, better game management by the NFL. So we've got 1, 2, and 3, which is maintain your practice squad. 2, lockdown before games. And I'd say the third step is figure out what your game protocol is going to be. Let it be, in paper, in writing. If this team has to do X, Y, Z, I want all this figured out before Sunday, because there's nothing I hate worse than it's a Saturday and then I'm finding out, the Titans can't play tomorrow because of COVID. Okay, well, clearly you've known this because of the testing, so why don't we get this figured out? I don't want to continue to go 2 and 3 weeks without watching, whatever it is, the Titans or whoever you like at home play. So I think better game management and figuring out where to line these games up at, so we're not missing the void of football in several different areas. All right, enough from the NFL. We're going to go into a new segment of fan questions where I answer your questions live on air, and here we go. All right, so first question of the day, and this one goes out to Mr. Steven Hines. Do I think Bronny would have gotten it worse had the Lakers have lost the finals? Hell yeah, I do. The best meme I think I have seen in the last 20 years would probably have to be the meme that said when the Lakers were 1 win away from winning the NBA Finals, it said, Bronny James is 1 win away from getting the ass whooping of a lifetime. And that stays true. I'm sure when LeBron James got home, Bronny James felt the wrath of good old LeBron. And if they would have lost, we might have seen an Adrian Peterson situation. Just throwing that one out there. We might see Bronny James on on CNN saying that his dad abused him. And I would hate to get my butt whooped by LeBron James in the first place. So yeah, I definitely 100% believe that LeBron James would have given Bronny a bigger ass whooping had he have lost the NBA Finals. All right, we've got another one about actually the Lakers. My prediction for the Lakers off-season moves. Now, this is a question that I've actually been getting a whole lot recently on my social media, and here's a couple things that I think are going to happen. I do not believe the Los Angeles Lakers are going to try and make a deal for Chris Paul or Derrick Rose. Here's why. Because what those teams are wanting would give up way too much. Kyle Kuzma in and of himself is his own trade piece. You can't lump Kyle Kuzma and Danny Green and a first rounder and go get an older Derrick Rose who's injury prone or an older CP3 who is injury prone. So I don't believe the Lakers are going to sell out for those stars. If those stars do come to LA, it will be off of a single person trade or a future draft pick trade. So that's first and foremost. Next, Kyle Kuzma's gone. He's not staying on this roster. There's no way he's going to be here in LA next year. Kyle Kuzma was a waste of space when it hit the Western Conference Finals and in the NBA Finals. He missed wide open shots, which is his only duty. He was not good on defense. He made a lot of dumb mistakes. So Kuzma's out of the door. Now here's who I think they could bring in place of Kuzma. Victor Oladipo has already opted out of his contract. So Victor Oladipo is a good option out there because he is an athletic guard who's a knockdown shooter, but who can also create his own shot, which is what they have wanted from Kyle Kuzma. But Kuzma can't really create his own shot. He's too sporadic. He's not consistent enough. So Victor Oladipo is a big person or a big name that I've seen out there. Also, we have Buddy Hield. That's a big name that continually pops up. We have heard that he wants out. We've heard that he wants a trade, and that would be a great piece. Listen, Buddy Hield is a very underrated player in this league. I mean, he's an 18-8 guy every single night, which is what we've needed from Kyle Kuzma. And with a LeBron James and Anthony Davis team, that's all you need. Somebody that can get you 18 to 25 points and 8 to 9 rebounds and 3 or 4 assists. So Buddy Hield's also a big name that I've seen thrown out there as well. And lastly, here's another move that I think the Los Angeles Lakers could make. And this is not popular. You're not going to hear a lot about this, and I don't think that it will happen, but this can be a big, long shot. There's a bunch of other smaller trades that I've heard, a little pieces added here and there, but here's a big one that I think could really honestly go down. So, Paul George did not have a great time with the Los Angeles Clippers. We have heard that Paul George is probably on the mend of being shipped out of the Clippers. The Lakers, knowing how Rob Pelinka likes to deal, could 3-team this trade. So if the Clippers decide to send Paul George somewhere, the Lakers could sneak in and make a 3-team trade here and try and snag Paul George. Now here's why this would be good for George. Because Paul George is not ever going to be the guy. Paul George is not ever going to be the second guy. But if Paul George is your third guy, he's a great player. This is a move that not a lot of Lakers fans are talking about. This is a move that has slowly gone under the radar. We've heard Magic Johnson even mention this as well. So if the Lakers were somehow able to get Paul George to LA Lakers instead of the Clippers, the Lakers are not only winning the title, but I guarantee you Paul George has the season of his life. So this is one of those sneaky ones. Now, I'm not saying this is a long shot, don't get me wrong, but I have read several articles, and Magic Johnson himself even said that Paul George would be a great beneficiary to a LeBron James and AD-led team. So if you're able to get Paul George via trade, let's say that's probably going to cost you Danny Green and Kyle Kuzma and a future first-round pick, depending where he goes. So they're out the door. You hope that Rajon Rondo decides to sign another one-year deal. You have Dwight Howard on another one-year deal. You have JaVale McGee on another one-year deal. You've got Markieff Morris, who I honestly thought played very well in the playoffs. You've got Alex Caruso. You've got Caldwell Pope, who has been a great player for you. You've got a lot of pieces that are going to stay. You're going to be in the mix because you have LeBron and AD. There's a lot of moves that can be made out there, but these are my early talks when it comes to Lakers and off-season acquisitions. First would be probably Buddy Hield. I would love to see Chris Paul be able to come over to the Lakers or a Derrick Rose, but I am not willing to give up what teams are wanting to get those players out of there and take on those horrible contracts. So those I would nix, but I want to guarantee you that Kyle Kuzma is out the door, and Victor Oladipo is a name that is also floating out there to come in to LA. So those are a couple of my offseason acquisitions when it comes to the Lakers. And let's go one more here for you. We've actually got a whole lot, but these are probably my 3 top ones so far. Do I think Odell Beckham should request a trade, and if so, where to? I think Odell Beckham should be traded without a doubt out of there. Goodbye to Cleveland, because he is not the cherry on top of a sundae. No, he is the cherry on top of a sidewalk because the sundae fell on the ground. So if I'm Odell Beckham Jr., I'm going to go to a contender, but I'm also going to go to where I'm going to be the number one guy. Listen, how many times in Cleveland have we said that OBJ is the number one guy, yet Jarvis Landry, yet Hooper, yet Njoku, yet all these other guys continually are said to be the number one guy, or we don't see OBJ get the number one guy targets and numbers. So the big acquisition I think should be made here, I think that the San Francisco 49ers should trade McKinnon, or I would say, if their running backs could stay healthy, that would be the biggest problem. But I would trade probably McKinnon and just do a McKinnon and a future first-round pick or a future second-round pick probably, and snag OBJ. Listen, the San Francisco 49ers needed wide receiver help. They went out and got a pretty good wide receiver. You finally have Deebo Samuels healthy. You add OBJ to that offensive side of the football with Kittle. You also still have 2 good running backs in that backfield. You are set. So Cleveland, I say you try and get McKinnon because you'll now have another back to mix in with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. If no one knows how long Nick Chubb's going to be down for. So pick up McKinnon in a future second or third round pick. Trade OBJ to San Francisco. That is the biggest one that I've seen and the biggest one that I like so far. Well, there are your fan questions of the week. We're going to start doing more of these because they're so fun. I had a ton of them sent in. Sorry, I could only read 3. Time was a little tight because we still have one more subject to get to. There's a big fight this weekend. For those of you who are not UFC fans, you need to become one because Kahbib, I can't even say his last name because it's so Russian, it's unreal, but it ends with off. So Kahbib versus Justin Gaethje, one of the biggest fights in MMA history. A true legacy fight happens this week. So for those of you who don't know who Kahbib is, you are A, living under a rock, or B, don't care about the UFC. And I'm telling you, the UFC is one of the most trending sports in the entire world today for the simple fact that Dana White has done such an incredible job making the UFC what it is today and bringing it through the pandemic and bringing you straight content the entire time through the lockdown. So congratulations to Dana White on what he's done. But let's get to this fight. First off, Kahbib is one of the greatest fighters to ever walk this earth. Man was wrestling bears when he was 9 years old. And I'm not making that up. Literal bears he was wrestling in Russia. Kahbib is the greatest ground and pound fighter I have ever seen in my entire life. He is 30-0, and he is defending his championship against Justin Gaethje, another interim championship, who defeated Tony Ferguson, who, first off, Tony Ferguson is a crazy talented fighter in and of himself, but Justin Gaethje tore him apart like he was nothing, and that means a lot going forward. Because Justin Gaethje was able to dominate Tony Ferguson so badly, I think we're seeing a Justin Gaethje that is not only more determined than ever, but a Justin Gaethje who has finally figured out how to mix in striking with takedowns with ground and pound. And that is a scary thought if you're Kahbib. Now here's the deal. It is hard to bet against Kahbib. He has destroyed the best of them. Anthony Showtime Pettis, Conor McGregor. Those of you who at least know a little bit about UFC know those 2 big names. He dismantled them. Not even close. It's hard to ever say that Kahbib is in for a fight or that Kahbib is going to be tested here because a lot of people thought that about Conor, and even though Conor was the first athlete to ever take a round off of Kahbib, think about this. In a 5-round fight, Conor McGregor didn't even last all 5 rounds, but he is the only fighter to ever win a round against Kahbib. That is crazy to even think. That's how great Kahbib is. Conor only took a round off of him, and then he made Conor submit the very next round. So it's hard to ever bet against Kahbib, but I'm going to say this. Justin Gaethje is not to be messed around with. After that Tony fight, you could see and not only a Justin Gaethje that is a better fighter, but a Justin Gaethje that is so determined to take over this division that he is going to be an animal in this fight on Saturday, and he's going to bring Kahbib a lot of problems. So Khabib's main thing, Kahbib wants to maul you. Kahbib wants to push you up against a fence, punch you, and then he simply wants to take you down to the ground. He's one of the best wrestlers in the world. He's going to take you down to the ground and either choke you out or beat the living hell out of you. So Justin Gaethje is also very good on the ground. He is a literal champion wrestler, but we have never seen it. Do you want to know how many takedowns Justin Gaethje has in his entire UFC career? Take a wild guess. All right, well, the answer is 0. That means somebody who is a champion wrestler, someone who is a champion fighter, has never even wrestled in the UFC. So when you have a guy like Justin Gaethje who is so interesting in this fight, it's going to be a great matchup. I'm telling you, if you are not a fight fan, this is the fight you need to rent. This is the fight you need to watch because it is going to be one of the greatest fights in history. I am not going to go against Kahbib yet. I'm going to say that Kahbib still wins this, but I think that this goes to a decision. I think Gaethje's left hook is one of the best in the entire MMA. I think Gaethje is going to wrestle with him and going to be able to hold his own because Justin Gaethje is a champion wrestler. I think because we have never seen Justin Gaethje attempt takedowns or wrestle in the UFC, we are going to be shocked this coming Saturday. This is a fight that I'm telling you, put your money on Justin Gaethje as the underdog. I'm not going against Kahbib just yet. I'm going to make my final prediction for the fight on Friday on what I think and everything I'm hearing leading up to it. But I'm telling you, this is going to be a fight for the ages. So make sure you're watching on Saturday because history will be made either way. Well, there you have it, folks. Another episode of The Locker Room is in the books. Thank you for joining us today. Listen, today has been a little bit sporadic. It's been a little bit sped up. I've been back and forth from the doctors, hospitals. It's been a long week for us here at The Locker Room, but we are still trying to bring you the best content we possibly can. We would love to hear from you. If you enjoy the show, if you enjoy the program, write us, let us know. If you listen on Apple Podcasts, make sure you give us a 5-star, give us a comment below. Love to hear from you. Make sure you're following us on all of our social medias. Make sure you go to fnxfit.com and get your supplements started today. We will see you on Tuesday. We have a brand new Saturday morning pick'em show this coming week. So much going on here. Stay up to date with us on all of our social medias. Once again, I'm Jacob Courtwright, and this is The Locker Room.